Hello, and thanks for joining me for another edition of Story Time. Today's story is called Till Death Do Us Part, and it comes from my collection, Peripheral Visions and Other Stories. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a funny little story. Till Death Do Us Part. It's a gift for you, darling, said Richard, smiling winningly at his wife, whom he had vowed to kill as soon as the ink on the insurance policy had dried. I chose it especially for you. Elizabeth eyed the package with suspicion rather than appreciation. The last few gifts she had received from Richard had not only been notable failures, but downright dangerous as well. There was the electric carving knife, for example, a gift for her first birthday as a married woman. It had unaccountably released both shining blades the moment Elizabeth laid it against the crisp skin of the Thanksgiving turkey. Fortunately, she had very quick reflexes, which enabled her to dodge the flying metal strips as they came with deadly aim toward her slender throat. Then there was the bright red 10-speed bike, an intriguing mix of glittering gears and sinuous cables. Unfortunately, one of the cables was not attached to the brakes, a fact Elizabeth discovered on the downhill run of a particularly steep hill. Leaping off to land in a knee-skinning bit of gravel, Elizabeth saw her bike miss the turn, sail into the ocean, and sink into watery obscurity, all while Richard stood watching in disbelief at the top of the hill. And once again, as he had been when the knife malfunctioned, Richard was apologetic, remorseful, and deeply distressed. He was also deeply disappointed, Elizabeth knew, to have put so much effort into a goal and then be forced to watch it all go up in smoke, which was exactly what happened to the curling iron she received for her next birthday. Seconds after Elizabeth wound some strands of her silvery blonde hair around it, it began to smoke and spit and spark. It singed the ends of her carefully cut coiffure, ruining for weeks her hairdresser's best efforts, and very nearly singed Elizabeth's scalp as well. Fortunately, and with utter disregard for the future of her hairdo, Elizabeth yanked the sparking iron from her head just as Richard came around the corner to view the performance of his latest gift. Elizabeth would have been quite upset over these accidents had she not been responsible for a few of her own. Not having Richard's ability for mechanical alteration, she settled on choosing one subject and finding out all she could about its operations. By the time she finished every book she could get on electrical energy, Elizabeth would have been quite adept at rewiring an outlet or installing a light fixture. However, this was not her intention. Her first foray into homicide was a bit amateurish, she had to admit. The electric shaver did in fact short circuit, but the resulting shock was about on par with inserting a key into an outlet. Slightly painful, but hardly deadly. Richard's expression immediately following the incident was a blend of shock and dismay. The latter she surmised because he had hoped for something a little more creative for her first attempt. Not wanting to disappoint him, she sought to prove herself worthy with her next gift. And in retrospect, the electric blanket operation was one of which she was justly proud. It had taken her a week of practice to learn exactly how much insulation must be removed before the bare wires would set the acrylic fibers on fire. Then, with Machiavellian cunning, she hid the blanket under her stack of sweaters in the closet until Richard's next birthday, when she could present him with a gift worthy of her talents. Fortunately, a cold spell coincided with the happy day, and as she gave him the package, she remarked that it was certain to put an end to his frozen feet syndrome. How permanently she could only hope, she thought, as she departed for her own room, far down the hallway from his. And the fire was everything a pyromaniac could hope for, snapping and crackling merrily along the mattress with a little cloud of smoke puffing from beneath carefully tucked-in corners. Unfortunately, Richard wasn't present when it started, having left the room to raid the refrigerator for a late-night snack. But when he returned, he found the bed a great deal warmer, but certainly less hospitable than when he had left it. His expression that night definitely held more admiration for his clever wife. So you have it, a little excerpt from Till Death Do Us Part. I liked the idea of playing off of the concept of happily married couples, but wanted to make it a little more fun, a little more enjoyable. I wanted the playing field to definitely be more level. And I thought it would be an interesting thing to see what each one of them would come up with in order to end this marriage in such a way that the other could, of course, benefit financially. But I was also a little intrigued by the idea of wondering too, do they really want to end the relationship? Has this simply become almost like a fun exercise, like a challenge that if they look deep into their hearts, perhaps neither one of them quite wanted to win? You know, this is how some of my stories are. They are a play on words, a play on idea, a play on a concept. I don't like to have the traditional stories. I prefer to have ones where the characters are a little different, a little odd, a little bizarre, and perhaps also where you're not quite sure how the story's going to end until you get to the end of it. I don't want to give it away too soon, you know, there's no fun in that. Actually, when I write a story, a lot of times I'm not even sure how it's going to end. So, you know, it just makes it a little more fun to find out exactly what's going to happen with the story. What are the characters going to do? How are they going to react? And how is the story going to come to its final conclusion? You know, will you be surprised? Will you be happy? Will you be thinking, yeah, you know, that is the only way that story could possibly have ended? So anyways, that's today's little episode from Peripheral Visions and Other Stories. I hope you were intrigued by it to want to find out exactly what will the two people do in this odd little marriage that they have created. And if so, you can pick up a copy of the book, read the story, and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me here on Storytime. I look forward to catching up with you again next week when I will give you another excerpt from my other collection, Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories. Thank you, and you have a great day. Bye-bye.